Hi, Kelly. Your email refers to question 19, but your attachment refers to question 20. So I'll do question 20, or I'll show you some more work on question 20. If that wasn't what you meant, then get back to me and I can have a look at what it was that you did mean. Okay, let's have a look. You were given that x equals 2t squared over t squared plus 1 and y equals 2t cubed over t squared plus 1, and you were told to show that y squared equals x cubed over 2 minus x. Just let me check that that is indeed the question. Yep, that is the question. Right, so the rest of the sketching it you can do on Desmos, but the algebraic stuff, no, you needed to do here. So that's the question. And if we start off with x, because what we need to do is we need to find t, and then we can put t into the expression for y. Okay, if we cross multiply, and then if we put the x on one side and the t's on the other, but what we need to do is multiply it out first. Oops. So we would get the t squareds on this side. It would be xt squared minus 2t squared equals negative x. But that's just going to mess things up a little bit. So if we multiply everything by -1, then we've got x, and then we've got 2t squared minus xt squared. Now I've just multiplied every single term by -1. So now I can factorize out t squared, and I can now divide each side by the bracket. So t squared equals x over 2 minus x, and that's really good because now we've got our t's on one side and our x's on the other side. So from there we can just take the square root of each side. Now I kind of knew that I was going to have to take the square root of it, which is why I did this step here. I couldn't have taken a square root if that was negative, so I knew, kind of because I knew where I was going, I needed to make that positive. Now, if you didn't know the sneaky bit ahead that I did, you would have gone straight ahead and divided, but you would have then hopefully realized that you were trying to find the square root of a negative number. You would have had square root of negative x on the top line. Can't be, it's got to be positive, so you would then have gone back to multiply it by -1 and get a positive x. Now, I'm going to do this next bit on the next slide, so I'll repeat what we got for t. So we've got that. So we've got so far as to say t equals the square root of x over 2 minus x. And from the question, y equals 2t cubed over t squared plus 1. Now, if we substitute all of that in, it gets very nasty very quickly. So we're going to do that anyway. So it's going to be, we want to cube it, so we have to put what t is in brackets. So that's the square root of x over 2 minus x cubed divided by, now t squared is going to be the square root of x minus 2 minus x squared plus 1. Okay, that's not even close to looking like the answer. The first bit of the bottom line, we can get rid of the brackets because something square rooted to the power of 2, that just cancels each other out. So I may as well do that to start with. So we're going to do 2 times square root of x minus 2 minus x cubed over x over 2 minus x plus 1. So that's y. That's pretty nasty. But 1 is something it's a useful thing, or we can just think of, well, actually, it'd be a lot easier if that bottom line was 1 fraction, because we're going to have to cross multiply, and it's going to get pretty ugly pretty quickly. So what we will do is I'll just bring it up here, and so we've got y equals, the top line I'll just leave as it is for the moment, so that's going to be the square root of x over 2 minus x cubed. Now the bottom line, we're just going to add fractions, and we need the bottom line to be 2 minus x, and if we've multiplied the bottom line of 1, which is really 1 over 1, we then have to multiply the top line by that. Okay, see how that goes. So we've got y equals square root of x over 2 minus x cubed over, now it's going to be over 2 minus x, and we've got x plus 2 minus x, so that's just going to leave us with 2 on the bottom. Okay, that's good, because now we can cross multiply by y times the bottom line equals that stuff with this cubed root and the cubed and the square root. So let's do that on the next page. So I'm going to say, well, what we've got now by cross multiplying, so then I've got y times, now the bottom line, if we just go back, the bottom line was 2 over 2 minus x. Okay, so just go here. So that was 2 over 2 minus x is equal to, now we had it as the square root of all of this, x over 2 minus 2x like that, and that was, hang on a minute, I think I've lost a 2 somewhere. Yes, way back here I had 2, and I had 2, and when I wrote it up here I lost my 2, so I'm going to put it back in again, and I'm going to put it back in there, and then when we come to the next slide I better put it in there too. So it was in here, I had 2 times this thing here, and I better put the 2 back in here, and that was cubed. Okay, now what we can do is we can actually divide both sides by 2, and then we've got y times 1 over 2 minus x equals x over 2 minus x cubed. Okay, so we'll leave the right hand side for the moment, sorry, the left hand side for the moment. Now this is going to be, it's going to be the square root of something. Hang on a minute, I'll turn off the dog, hang on. Okay, dog now put outside. Right, what this means is it's going to be the square root of x over 2 minus x times the square root of x over, oops, well actually the bottom line is what I was going to write. I can take out, no, that's not going to work, I'll have to leave it like that, and I'll fix it on the next line. Root x over the square root of 2 minus x. Okay, because the square root of a over b excuse me, equals the square root of a over the square root of b. Now if you look at the top line, that's going to be the square root of x times the square root of x, which is x times root x. And the bottom line is going to be the square root of 2 minus x times the square root of 2 minus x, which is 2 minus x times the square root of 2 minus x. And all of that is y times 1 over 2 minus x. Right, now what are we going to do? We are going to cross multiply to get y, because ultimately we need y squared. So I'm just going to write that at the top of the next slide. So we ended up with y times 1 over 2 minus x equals x root x over 2 minus x times root 2 minus x. So y then is going to be x root x over 2 minus x square root 2 minus x. Now I needed to undo the multiplying on the left hand side. I need to divide both sides by 1 over 2 minus x. Now if I'm dividing by a fraction, I can flip and multiply. So I'm going to flip so that it becomes 2 minus x over 1, and I'm going to multiply. That's say a over b over c is equal to a times c over b. So that's fine. So now I'm going to, well actually I can cancel out. If I put that in a bracket, I can cancel that bracket with that bracket, and I'm left with x root x over root 2 minus x. That's y. I didn't want y. I didn't want y at all. I wanted it to be y squared. So what I need to do is I need to square every single term. So then I'm going to say y squared equals x squared. Now root x squared is x, and root 2 minus x squared is 2 minus x. If we tidy the top line, we get that. Bingo! That's exactly what we wanted. Now, if that wasn't the question you meant to ask, then please send me another email explaining a bit more about which question you needed to ask, and I can take it from there. Hopefully that's been helpful. It's question 20. Okay.